off your engine! Okay, here's a scam to avoid. With the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of people are buying cars online, having them delivered to them. Make sure it's a real deal. Don't get stuck like this poor woman did. Thought that she'd found a nice 2012 Honda Civic, and it was only $2,000. There's kind of a flag there. It's wrecked, flooded, stolen, what's going on here? But she was buying it for her son to go to college, and the person selling it said it, oh, well, her son's in the military, it's in storage, you can't see it, but we'll ship it to you. And she gave a fake eBay contract to the woman for $2,000, and the woman bought her $2,000 in gift cards. Well, needless to say, the car never showed up, and the $2,000 gift cards were all drained. It was a scam. You have to be leery about buying stuff online. Let's all be logical today. Don't ever buy a used car unless you can try it out first and have a mechanic check it out. Don't be scammed by these people pulling these deals, because there's a zillion of them out there. They might look real, but if you can't physically see the car, get in it and drive it, walk away. There's used cars for sale all over the place. Don't just go online and think, oh, I'm going to get a great deal like this. And always realize, if the deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You're going to get a nice Civic for $2,000, unless it's really, 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 really old. That was just a front to take the woman's money. Be careful about that stuff. And even with bigger companies like Carvana, they deliver a car to you, but the mechanic can't check it out first. Then they say, well, if you get a mechanic, he says it's not any good, well, we take it back. Yeah, well, there's strings attached, usually money involved. Don't. If you can't check the car out used before you buy it, go someplace else. That's what really makes sense. Well, it looks like Volvo isn't just messing around with electric cars. Their target is to have only production of electric vehicles and hybrids by 2025 at an even split, the same amount of hybrids and electric vehicles. And in that vein, they just opened a new e-motor research lab in China to get this electrification going. They're taking this electrification seriously at Volvo. Now, Volvo's owned by the Chinese, so they're pushing electrification in China a lot faster than they are in other countries. And we're talking about massive amounts as they start building them up. They'll start small, and they're going to work their way up. They're going to be making a whole bunch of them, just like Volkswagen going to be making electric cars in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 2022. And their plan is to first make 1 million, and then make 2 million, and scale it up as they need be. These are massive companies doing massive research. They're not just playing on an image of a rich man's toy or an overly high-priced electric car. Because if you think about it, electric cars, they have a battery, they have a motor. They're not all that complex. Now, Tesla makes them extremely complex because they can. Kind of like classic German technology. They made things really complicated and expensive because they could. They didn't need to, but they did because they could. I remember my grandfather's day. He always mad at German cars because back in his day, he said, look at this German car. They machined this so it fits in perfectly. Well, it costs a lot of money to do that. The Americans they built it and then they put a gasket and bolted it on. Well, neither system leaked and one was a lot cheaper to build. And there's no sense in making it really expensive if something as simple as a gasket can solve the problem. Can imagine that a lot of these newer companies coming up with electric cars, they're going to have better ideas. They're going to be able to mass produce them cheaper and at a higher quality because they're used to making vehicles. They have a history of making vehicles over years. It takes companies a long time to get things set in stone. Take something like Tesla, hasn't been around that long, has all kinds of production problems. It'd be interesting to see what Volvo does in China. To see if by 2025 they are producing 50% hybrids and 50% electric vehicles. So it'll be an interesting thing to see what happens there. But they've got a big research center they just opened up there for electrification, and they're not going to be sitting on their rear ends in China. They're going to be figuring things out as fast as they can to keep ahead of the curve. Hetzer asks, my 2007 Tundra, 157,000 miles, has engine noise. Sounds like valve noise, but Toyota said it has normal piston scuffing noise. Runs good, gets 21 miles a gallon on the highway, doesn't burn oil. Made this noise since I bought it. What do you think? Okay, well, a lot of those will make valve train noise as they have that kind of mileage on it. Now, if you want to post a video, send me a link, I can listen to the noise and I can tell you just by hearing it. But they all generally will make a little bit of noise as they age. If it runs fine and you're getting that kind of gas mileage, it's not something I'd worry about. All engines will make some kind of noise as they age. Take my 94 Celica. It's got 240,000 miles on it. And when it's idling, you can hear valve train noise, but it still runs perfectly fine. And maybe it burns half a quart of oil every 3,000 miles, which is nothing. There's some noises you live with, and that's probably one of them. Like I said, you want to make a video, post it. I can listen to it and tell you. Well, people always used to say car repair and trucks wasn't rocket science. Well, guess what? It is turning into rocket science. It turns out that Cummins, the big diesel company, has recently received a federal grant to advance solid oxide fuel cells. So we are talking rocket science. Solid ones instead of liquid ones. It makes more sense. Of course, there has to be a gigantic infrastructure, and this is going to be way in the future. You see big old 18-wheelers going down a road using solid oxide fuel cells, like in a rocket ship, or the old missiles that had solid oxides. They held up longer. You didn't have to worry about them degrading, and they weren't as hard to do as liquid fueling of rockets. That's why they went to solid fuel rockets instead of liquid fueled rockets. Now it may be coming rocket science. They can get it to that level where it's easier, and of course, being solid, it's safer. It doesn't put out the heat that a liquid one or a gas one does. There's so much technology changing in electric vehicles that's why old Scotty says, I wouldn't go out and buy one right now. It's evolving, and who knows what's going to win the race. Maybe it'll be that they'll all be solid oxide ones and everybody will have one. Who knows? They might not be ones that you're going to be plugging in to recharge that have giant expensive lithium batteries. Who knows what's going to pass through when the technology goes on? As far as I'm concerned, it's too early in the game to shell your money out on one technology, or you may be stuck with the Betamax of vehicles that faded away and you wasted your money on one. If these big boys are trying that out, who knows when all the chips fall, where they're going to lie, and what kind of technology is going to be using in electric vehicles. Well, who knows? We may finally get flying cars. If you check this out, the Klein air car took its first flight in Slovakia. And if you look at it, it actually looks like a car, and the wings fold out and it flies. It's not like a plane that they put some wheels on. Now, of course, this is the first flight of it. Who knows how far it's actually going to go, but it really does look like a flying car. Not either a car that they grafted just part of a plane on. It actually looks like it's pretty well designed. It reached 1,500 feet up in the air, so it wasn't like the Wright brothers being 3 feet off the ground. It actually flew around. They say it's going to have a cruising speed of about 150 knots and a range of 600 miles. So, hey, kind of a decent little flying car. The original ones are 2 seats. They're going to make 4 seats. It's like the ultimate in transportation, and it'll be for rich people, of course. It's not going to be a cheap thing. They didn't mention anything about price yet. You know that there's going to be a bunch of rich people buying these things. If they can drive around, then take off in their car, land at an airport, and then drive wherever they're going, you know there's going to be some rich people buying these things. If they can get them to pass all the tests that they need to. And as you can see by that picture, it really does look like a flying car. And when you fold the wings in, it does look like a car. It's not cumbersome like the stuff they made in the 50s and some of the early 60 ones. So who knows? Maybe one day there will actually be a few flying cars around for rich people. Well, people will try just about anything, but check this out. In Wisconsin, the police pulled over a guy who decided he was going to transport his snowmobile on the top of his Toyota Corolla, running perpendicular on the roof. One wonders how he got it up there in the first place. Now, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation even posted on a link. It says, do not try this at home. You should put it in a bed of a pickup truck or have a little trailer. Don't put it on the roof of your Toyota Corolla. But, to me, it kind of shows those Corollas are so solidly built that they could put a snowmobile on the top of it and drive it around. People will try the craziest things. I remember years ago in Houston driving down Interstate 45, and there was a big traffic jam. And I thought, I wonder what it is. And I kept passing people, and I got up to where the jam was started. And it was a guy in a Corvette. He had a rope tied to the back of the Corvette. The rope went to a Harley Davidson that a guy was riding and they were towing it. And not only was it insanity to be towing a Harley like that, but he had tied it to the front forks of the motorcycle, jerking it back and forth, and the guy was going back around. People will try some of the strangest ways to cheaply move something because they don't want to rent a trailer or they don't have a pickup truck to put it in. So please, don't try this at home, like the Wisconsin Department of Transportation said. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.